Hey guys, what's up? My name's Kaplan. I'm a competitive Counter-Strike player. I've been playing the game for 15 years, among other shooters competitively. I'm somebody who's trying to go really far in Valorant right when it comes out and be a content creator for the game. And right now I'm focusing on making content that's going to help you and I be competitive and be at a high level right out the gates when Valorant comes out. Okay, guys, so let's talk about roles in Valorant. But before we start defining or guessing what roles will be in Valorant, I want to make it clear why figuring out what role you're going to play when the game comes out is going to be really beneficial to you, assuming you're trying to get to the top, trying to play professional, or see how far you can get. So for me, there's three big reasons that you want to have a role going into Valorant, or an idea of what role you want to play. And a big one for me is deliberate practice. And what I mean by that is that when you get into the game, you can be playing characters, even in matchmaking, that you think are characters you're likely to be playing in a team environment and on a competitive level or in a tournament or league. And you can put yourself into situations in each game that you think you'll likely to be in with your role in a team. In other words, deliberate practice means you're not wasting time playing characters and playing in situations that you're not really likely to be in a competitive environment. And as a bit of a disclaimer, I do think that when the game comes out, you should just have fun for a week. You should explore, you should be creative, you should try different characters, try different roles, and see what clicks. And that there's no benefit to this, but that by the second or third week, having an idea of what kind of roles you'd like to be playing is going to help you be more prepared for competitive level Valorant. And the second and very related reason that knowing your role going into Valorant is going to be useful is that you'll have a clear toolkit for a team. What I mean is that when you apply to a team, when you build a team with friends, when you join a competitive team, you can say what you're bringing to the table. You can tell them what you're going to offer and what you don't plan on offering. And then you can build a team that doesn't have inconvenient overlaps, where you're not going to be fighting over the same character or same spot on a map as another player, and where you're going to click together and actually support each other and complement each other's strengths. And then the third and definitely most important reason that you should have an idea of your role going into Valorant is because if you're trying to play at the highest level, you need to know your strengths as a player in person and optimize those. So what I mean by that is that you might have a lot of strengths, but if you're planning on playing at the highest level against the best players possible, you're going to be in a role, you're going to want to be in a role that maximizes your strengths, where your peak, your ceiling, your potential is at its highest. So for example, if you're a really aggressive player with incredible aim, and you think your aim is the best in the world, well, you should be in a role that maximizes that. Whereas if you don't think your aim is incredible, but you think your decision making really is, you'd want to be in a role that maximizes that, because you wouldn't flatline or plateau competitively until you got to the very top, or at all, I should say. So now that we've cleared out the reasons on why you should be thinking about what role you want to play in Valorant, then we need to get an idea of what the roles will be in Valorant and what strengths they'll have and what they'll reward in terms of your player strengths. I think a good place to start, and this is all speculation, is Counter-Strike. I think everything we know so far, the game's going to play a lot like CS. It's the same game mode, very similar maps, very similar game. So let's just keep it simple and break down the Counter-Strike roles and kind of figure out what player strengths might go into those. Something interesting to note about CS is that there's no officially defined roles. There's no top and mid lane and the bruiser and assassin that go in certain lanes. Valve's never offered that, and I think we can expect Valorant not to offer that either. So roles are more loosely defined and more flexible in how they fit into a team, but they still give us a framework for understanding what roles are likely to be in Valorant. So I'll start with the terrorist side or attacking side. We have the entry fragger. The entry fragger is a player who creates space. They push to find information. They might not wait for information. They generally attack, open up around. They will take duels that are often 50-50s with their aim. They'll have a lot of support from their other players, and they sometimes have to push themselves into vulnerable positions where they don't know where they're going to get shot from and have a bit of a guessing game. So it's really aggressive and a bit of a risky role, but it's really important. Definitely need one or two of these players on your team. It's a kind of role where if you're impatient or really confident, it's going to fit you. If you really like to just pit your aim up against another player and like to make things happen, it's going to be a good fit. Another important role we have on the terrorist or attacking side is support. This is the type of player who's going to support the entry fragger, make them more likely to win their duels and open up rounds, as well as justify what the entry fragger does by trading their kills and helping them take a site. So it's somebody that needs to be really good at using their utility. In the case of Counter-Strike, you need to be really aware of your flashbangs and your smoke grenades and Molotovs, and you need to know how you can throw them in different ways to help a player out or take a site. So you have to constantly keep track of your utility, in the case of Valorant, your abilities, have lots of different creative ways of using them, and be very team play focused, very focused on your teammate and how you can help them, and lots of communication is necessary. So if you're a more heady player and you really like to keep track of cooldowns or abilities in other games and work with other people, it's going to be a good fit for you. And the third role we have on terrorist or attacking side is the lurker. It's not always used on every team or every round, but the lurker is somebody who usually goes on another part of the map where most of the team isn't attacking and is either sneaky and quiet, they'll hide and then sneak out to try to catch a player rotating, or they'll take some fights and try to throw a fake or put a lot of pressure on for just being themselves. So it's a role that's really independent and very decision-making heavy. You need to really do well on your own and enjoy thinking a lot, looking at the radar, knowing what the other team's going to do. So it's a very heady role, and you have to communicate a lot too, because you're the eyes and ears for a certain part of the map, and your plays impact what your teammates experience on the other side of the map. And moving into the counter-terrorist or defending side, I'll start with the anchor. The anchor anchors down a bomb site. They're the last and first line of defense for a bomb site. They wouldn't leave that site and rotate to another until the other site was being taken with the bomb being shown by the enemies. Their job is to basically get multiple kills or hold down the site entirely before dying so that their teammates can easier retake the site once they rotate to it. It's a very independent role. It's a very patient role. You need to be able to hold down a site for a really long period of time, even if the other site's what's being pressured round after round. And if you get impatient, you really get punished. So you don't make a ton of decisions all the time, but you have to be really careful about making the correct decisions when you do to make. And then next we have the rotator. The rotator is basically the support of the CT side. Their job is to support the anchor players and help them hold down sites, as well as rotate between the sites depending on information. So they're trying to go from A to B depending on what site is being attacked or likely to be attacked. They're also looking for information to help them do that. So it's a pretty communications and team play focused role. There's a lot more decision making and a lot more rapid movement. So if you're a little more impatient or heady of a player, it can be a better fit. And then the third and final role for the CT side, this is a little more loosely defined, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. There's the opper or the sniper. Lots of teams have dedicated snipers on either side, but I think it's a more crucial role on defense. The sniper's job on defense is to move around the map and open up a round by getting a pick and falling back. It's the best gun for that, so it gives your team 5v4s, and it's kind of the best defense is a good offense sort of thing. So if you're a really aggressive or confident player and you like to be really unpredictable and creative, it can be a really good role. It's sort of a roamer role. I think we might see it in Valorant on certain characters, even if they don't have the sniper. And it opens up rounds and takes space and gets information so that you're not just defenders stuck inside of a site holding it down. Okay guys, so we've outlined roles in Valorant, what strengths they reward, and why it would be really beneficial for you to have an idea of what role you want to play going into Valorant. And I think the most important thing to do from here is try to get a better idea of which one of those strengths you think you have and would fit into. I think there's a few ways to do this. You could obviously just play the game when it comes out and see what you do best in and feel most comfortable in. You could try to be introspective and think about what roles you played in other games or even in other things in life like sports or life and work, to think about what you might excel at. Do you do really well with teamwork? Or are you a more quiet person who doesn't like to communicate a lot? Are you really focused on one thing, or do you like to multitask? Do you get impatient and restless? Do you like to make a lot of decisions? Do you like to sit still? These are all questions that even if you can't answer them in Valorant, you can have a guess on what kind of player you want to be or would be in Valorant. Before we go, I just want to clarify 2 quick points as well, which is that in Counter-Strike, these roles are really loosely defined because whoever has the utility ends up being the support player, and whoever has the best spawn ends up being the entry. So you have to be really flexible. This is going to be less true in Valorant because you pick a character and you lock into it, and that decides what your toolkit is, as well as the fact that we've seen those force fields that let you set up before fighting for space once the round starts, which means you can always make sure players and characters are in the right position. And then building off that, we know that characters are going to be really important to what role you play. Certain characters are going to excel at certain roles and others will excel at different roles. So that's a really important thing I skipped over in this video, but it's because I really wanted to give it some more attention. So stay tuned, because in the next day I'm going to release another video, part 2 of this one basically, that just looks at all the characters and their toolkits and breaks down and speculates what roles I think each of those characters are going to fit into. So stay tuned for that. Do some self-reflection, go on a hike, stare into a pond, find out what kind of player you are and what kind of, role you're going to pop off in Valorant. Try not to be too good, because otherwise I can't pop off because you'll be better than me. And if you do that, I'll delete this video because I'll be angry. I don't want to do that because I need to make money on YouTube. Okay. Thanks, guys. Please comment, subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions, requests, whatever. Check me out on Twitch and Twitter. Appreciate you watching it, and stay tuned. Okay, bye.